A 20-year-old model walks into a studio in Milan thinking she's about to do a fashion shoot. But within minutes, she's attacked, drugged, kidnapped, stuffed into a bag, and taken to a remote farmhouse. She wakes up handcuffed, and the people holding her? They say she's being auctioned on the dark web. A countdown is running. A ransom demand is on the table. If no one pays, she disappears forever. Sounds unreal, right? It happened. And the most twisted part? Nobody believed her. This is the real-life case of Chloe Ayling. It all started with what looked like just another modeling gig. Chloe Ayling was 20 years old, a rising British model, trying to make a name for herself in the fashion world. She'd done a few shoots, built up a portfolio, gained some traction online, and then came the offer. An agency reached out, claiming to represent a well-known brand. They said they wanted her for an exclusive photo shoot in Milan, Italy. Flights, hotel, studio, everything was covered. It looked legit. Professional emails, real contracts, a detailed itinerary. So Chloe packed her bags and boarded the flight to Italy. She landed, checked into her hotel, and on the day of the shoot, she headed to the address they'd given her. It was a quiet street. The building didn't look fancy, but photo studios often don't. She knocked on the door. It opened. She stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind her. Before she could even turn around, a man grabbed her from behind. She struggled, but he was strong. Then she felt a sharp sting in her arm, like a needle, and everything started to blur. Her legs gave out. The world tilted sideways, and within seconds, she blacked out. She was sedated, kidnapped, stuffed into a large canvas bag like cargo, and taken away. No one saw her. No one knew she was missing. No one was coming to help. She was gone. Chloe woke up, inside a duffel bag. It was pitch black. She couldn't move. Her knees were jammed up against her chest. Her arms were pinned. She was alive, but trapped. And somewhere between panic and confusion, she realized this wasn't a dream. This was real. When the bag finally opened, she was yanked out and thrown onto a cold mattress in the corner of a small room. Her wrists and ankles were cuffed with zip ties. The windows were boarded shut. The door was locked. There was no clock, no phone, no escape. Just silence and the sound of her own breathing. The walls were bare. The air was stale. And the light overhead? Flickering. She started screaming, begging to know where she was, who had taken her, why. And then the door opened. 2 men stepped in, but only one spoke. He told her with no hesitation that she had been kidnapped by an underground group operating through the dark web. They were part of something bigger, a secret organization that targeted women like her, models, young, marketable. And now, she was being auctioned online to anonymous buyers, people with power and money, and no morals. Unless someone paid a ransom of 300,000 euros, Chloe would be transferred. She asked them what that meant. They didn't answer. Instead, they showed her a document listing her information, age, height, photos, and next to it, a countdown timer, already running. 71 hours, 4 minutes, and 29 seconds. Hours, minutes, seconds, ticking down to 0. She stared at it, trying to breathe. This couldn't be real, but it was. The man looked at her and said calmly, "Once the time runs out, there's no going back." Chloe Ayling was no longer a person to them. She was a product, and the clock was already ticking. For 6 days, Chloe Ayling lived in fear. The room never changed. The light barely flickered, and the door never opened unless someone came in to remind her. She wasn't going anywhere. She was fed once a day, bread, water, just enough to survive, like they were keeping her alive for something. And then one day they showed her why. They pulled out a laptop, clicked through a few screens, and turned it toward her. What she saw didn't feel real. Her face, her height, a code name, and a countdown timer ticking down second by second. She was listed on what looked like a dark web auction site. There were others, other women, other names. No contact, no identities, just codes. And next to hers, the timer. She asked them what it meant. They told her, coldly, "You're being auctioned. If no one pays, you disappear." Just like that. Her blood ran cold. She couldn't think, couldn't speak, but she forced herself to stay calm. She started talking to them, not out of trust, but survival. She asked questions, told them she had a son, tried to humanize herself, make herself less of a product and more of a person. And strangely, one of them listened. His name was Łukasz Herba. At first, he was cold, like the others, but slowly Chloe saw cracks in him, moments of hesitation, delays. No more updates on the countdown. He stopped mentioning the auction. He started looking at her differently. He was still her captor, but something was changing, and Chloe knew it. And then, without warning, she was freed. There was no explanation, no countdown reaching zero, no message from the supposed dark web network. Just a quiet moment where everything changed. Herba, the same man who had kept her locked up, terrified, walked into the room and calmly told her the auction was canceled. He said he found out that Chloe had a child. And according to him, the group he was working for had rules. Mothers were off limits. That was it. That was the line they wouldn't cross. He handed her clothes, helped her put on shoes, and told her he was taking her somewhere safe. Chloe, numb with confusion, followed him. She had no idea if this was a trick, another setup, or some twisted part of the plan. But then, the car stopped. They were outside the British consulate in Milan. He told her to go in, said she was free, and just drove away. She walked through the doors, shaking, exhausted, barely able to speak, and told the staff everything. Everything she could remember, everything she had been through. They called the police immediately, and within hours, Italian authorities tracked down and arrested Łukasz Herba. For a moment, it looked like the nightmare was over. But this wasn't the end. What came next was a different kind of nightmare, because soon the public would hear her story. And instead of sympathy, Chloe Ayling would face something she never expected: doubt. The headlines spread like wildfire. British model kidnapped in Milan, auctioned on the dark web, escaped a human trafficking ring. For a brief moment, Chloe Ayling became a household name, but the spotlight quickly turned cold. At first, people were shocked. Then, they started asking questions, and not the right ones. Online, the whispers began. It sounds too crazy. Why would they just let her go? She's a model. Maybe it was a publicity stunt. Then came the accusations that she staged the whole thing, that she made it up for fame, that the entire story was some elaborate hoax. The internet did what it always does. It judged, it speculated, and it turned on her. Even with the evidence right there. Sedatives found in her system. She was discovered exactly where she claimed she'd been held. Authorities found photos, emails, and details that backed up her story. Still, people didn't want to believe it. They didn't see a traumatized young woman who barely escaped something horrific. They saw a headline character, a meme, a scandal. Some TV shows mocked her. Commentators picked apart her interviews. Strangers on social media called her a liar, again and again. The internet didn't just doubt Chloe Ayling. It dragged her through a second kind of captivity, one that didn't require ropes or zip ties, just a screen and a keyboard. And in the court of public opinion, she was guilty. Łukasz Herba stood in court and admitted it. He had kidnapped Chloe Ayling, but then came his twist. He claimed it was all staged, a fake stunt to gain publicity, and that Chloe was part of it. That lie spread fast. But in court, Chloe didn't flinch. She told her story calmly, clearly, painfully. From the moment she was grabbed, to the injection, to the room, and the countdown clock. She spoke the truth, and the evidence backed her up. Sedatives in her system, ransom emails, photos, the exact house she described. It all lined up. In 2018, Erba was found guilty, sentenced to 16 years in prison. Later, his brother Michel was convicted too, and the court confirmed what Chloe had said all along. She was kidnapped. It was real. Every word of it. But by then, the world had already moved on, and Chloe was left to live in the shadow of their doubt. Even after the convictions, the judgment didn't stop. The courtroom had called it real. But the internet? It kept calling it fake. Chloe tried to reclaim her story. She gave interviews. She published a book. She wanted the world to understand what really happened. But the damage was already done. Her name had become a punchline, a meme, a symbol of doubt. People mocked her, laughed at her, told her to get over it. Or worse, to be grateful she survived. No one saw what came after survival. The isolation, the mental toll, the weight of not being believed. And very few stopped to ask the one question that still matters. What if she was telling the truth all along, and we just didn't want to believe it? Today, Chloe Ayling is still rebuilding her life. She continues to model, but the shadow of what happened never really faded. Not just because she was kidnapped, but because the world treated her survival like a scandal. She became a victim twice, first to her captors, then to public shame. This is the story of Chloe Ayling, a woman who was kidnapped, nearly sold on the dark web, and blamed for surviving. If this story moved you, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think. Was Chloe failed by the world after she escaped? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more real-life stories that need to be heard. And as always, stay curious, stay human, and don't stop questioning the headlines.